Welcome to the Liberation Movement presentation of Saturday Soul, hosted by yours truly, Sidney Freeman Jr. I am so excited to share this platform with so many of you today. It is my prayer that the people that watch this program, whether live or in the re-airing, will be enlightened, inspired, and their hearts and spirits be set free as a result of this program. I would first like to thank Kirk Nugent and Composition for facilitating the audio-visual needs for this program. The Liberation Movement is excited to share that we are now a 501c3 organization. And later on in the program, we're going to tell you a little bit more about it and how you guys can help to make the movement even better and move it and propel it forward so we can effectively impact the lives of Black people. Before we move further, I would ask that our viewers share this presentation with your friends, families, and loved ones. I would ask that you send out the YouTube link and also subscribe to the program. Please feel free to enter the questions that you have throughout the program. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat on YouTube, and then also in the Facebook thread on Facebook. We're in for a special treat today. We have someone that is an expert in this topic of emotional corrective experience in the person of Theodore. Theodore has worked with families as a certified adult nurse practitioner for more than 25 years. Currently trained in marriage and family therapy, is in private practice as a relationship coach and trainer / motivational speaker. This practitioner works closely with individuals, heterosexual and same-sex loving couples, as well as groups from diverse backgrounds to identify adaptive techniques for successful living. So without further ado, I would ask for Jazz to come forward and look forward to having an engaging presentation and conversation with our good friend. How you doing, Jazz?
Hey, how are you? It's good to be with you. And thank you so much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to our discussion today.
Yes. Looking forward to what you're going to share about this new concept to me, emotional corrective experience. So what we'll do is just let you kind of take the floor, and I'll come back in a little while. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let me share this with you guys. Some weeks ago, I was talking with some of the guys on the board for this, and we talked about the changes that you will be going through, that the younger people will be going through. Trying to fix this camera. I'm a newbie at this thing. And so I had mentioned that, you're making a lot of changes for individuals today. And when we make major changes like this, we're going to go through certain feelings because we have attached our sense of value to our code of ethics and our core values. So when I say I was taught to do a thing a specific way, I feel that I have some added value to me because of that governing rule, because of that tradition. And so this conversation was really spurred on because I said, you guys, you're churching differently. And as you begin to question the past, as you begin to desire to make changes, you're going to go through different feelings. And you may get to a point where you will arrive at a place called the crisis of your belief, as well as the feelings uh, that are called the corrective emotional experience. The corrective emotional experience are the experiences that an individual feels when they come to an aha moment. For example, you're working on something in your session, and now all of a sudden, subsequent to the information that you talked about, you get to a place where you say, oh, this is not what I thought. Maybe this was not my responsibility. It was someone else's responsibility. You may be flooded with these feelings so much that you're crying. Something has changed. And so now you begin to question who you are and what have I been thinking. So I was just exchanging with the members that this is something that the group may need to be aware of. That when you make major changes, you will start to question your belief system and question what was considered valuable to you in the past as you go forward making different changes. So that's pretty much what a correctional emotional experience is. I want to let you know it's very, very important that as you continue moving through your changes, you will question what you did in the past as you evaluate the validity of taking it forward. So, what I'm going to do actually is I am going to give you an emotionally corrective experience today. I will begin to talk about or discuss certain beliefs or certain experiences that you've had in the past, and it will disturb your feelings. So, we'll check in every so often on your feelings. Now, the reason for this discussion truly is to tighten up the village. To tighten up the village. The village is moving forward. And I'm referring to the village. You guys are in your 20s, your 30s, and 40s. And then I'm over here with the other part of the village, moving up in the 60s, the 70s, and so on and so forth. I want to, we want to extend our hand and hold you a little bit as we pass the baton to you. So, the purpose of this discussion really is to tighten you up as you move forward. I'll say it again, to tighten you up, to put the gel in there, to give you more strength because you are being tempted. You're on the crest of the wave, you're on the verge of a change. So, as the village moves forward, they have to be able to be stronger as they make these changes. How does the village get stronger? One person at a time. It begins by me telling myself the truth. Oftentimes, when you walk into a session, your mental health care provider may say to you, we only want one thing from you while you're in these sessions, and that is that you tell yourself the truth. Okay, being in session with your mental health care provider is an absolutely wonderful thing. What goes on there is what everybody wants. For about a whole hour, they talk about you and you talk about you. This is a wonderful experience. And might I add at this time that, you probably have a primary physician where you check in once a year or once every 2 years for your physical exam because you're pretty much a healthy person right now. I would recommend going forward that you choose a mental health provider. Add that to your list of check ins annually, every so often. There's a psychologist, there's a psychiatrist, there's the coach, there's the therapist, there's a counselor. There's so many different healthcare providers that you can choose. I strongly recommend as you make changes in your life, add to your list of healthcare providers the mental health care provider. There was a time when growing up, I heard often that you don't need a healthcare provider, mental health care provider. You just need to pray. And often during that time, when individuals went in to see a psychologist, they were thought of as maybe crazy. We're not crazy. What we're looking at is our resourceful self versus our non-resourceful self. And from day to day, from month to month, from year to year, we do change because we have incoming from the external environment that sometimes we have no control over. For example, last year we had no control over the incoming from our external environment. So we had to adjust rapidly, we had to adjust immediately. This is making a change even though you had not planned on it. And you did a good job. Whenever you go into a session, you're talking about making changes. And that's what's going on here. As you as the millennial and the Gen Zs begin to change the way they church, might I say it like that, you all are going to go through some personal experiences. The corrective emotional experience. All right. So you'll be feeling that today. And also, keep in mind the information I'm giving you, put it to work to strong you up because there are certain characteristics of behavior. There are certain things that go on in your village, in your church, in your community that you probably want to leave behind in these generations. You want to delete it as you move forward. We're talking about changing your mind, we're talking about changing your behavior. Check this out. You know that accountability is the foundation of trust. And so we're going to talk about accountability. We're going to talk about trust. We're going to talk about forgiveness, Black forgiveness. Here's a question. Was Black forgiveness personified in the John Geiger hug? Do you remember back in September of 2018, a former Dallas police officer, Amber Geiger, shot Botham Jean in his Dallas, Texas apartment, right? During her trial, the brother embraced her and said to her, "If you're truly sorry, I forgive you." So now here's the question again. Was Black forgiveness personified in the John Geiger hug? And so what's Black forgiveness? Black forgiveness is unworthy merit that was taught to the enslaved ancestors. This unworthy merit and favor was given to oppressors, wrongdoers, murderers without accountability. Black forgiveness is unmerited favor without accountability. Remember that you're going to have an emotionally corrective experience. So right now it might be starting. Right now it might be saying, you might be saying, what is she talking about? I don't even like that word, Black forgiveness. So as I continue this discussion, I want you to check in and monitor your feelings. Are you feeling excited? Are you feeling anger, fear? Are you feeling any distrust as I speak? Monitor how you're feeling as we're talking. Okay. So Black forgiveness was a governing rule for survival of slavery that was taught to the enslaved Africans through religious teachings. Okay, this lessons this the lessons of subservience and unworthy forgiveness helped the slave owner to manage the enslaved. All right, this is miseducation, is what we're talking about. So, Black forgiveness today is spurred on by the victim's need to avoid feelings of pain, sadness, and the whole emotional imbalance. We also learn from society that we should just forgive because it'll hurt you more than it hurts them. Just forgive. So the action of this is done pretty much for selfish reasons. I'll get back to that though. So this training of forgiveness without accountability, it's traveled so many generations and so many religions that today, even today, uh, Christians of African descent believe that forgiveness is greater than accountability, forgiveness is greater than apology. So, so today, most preachers preach from the pulpit that you are a better Christian, be like Jesus, and just forgive. Just forgive for the sake of forgiving. Just forgive so that you would feel better. Just forgive. Now, I'll tell you something about learning. If, when, what if you learned about accountability and forgiveness from the time you are in your cradle roll on Sabbath and your cradle roll class on Sundays? Because you're primarily learning this in the church. If you had learned about the benefit of apologizing and being accountable, today it would feel normal for you. You wouldn't have any negative feelings about it. We're talking about telling yourself the truth. We're talking about strengthening your village, which starts one person at a time. We're talking about evaluating a common knowledge that you've been taught and that you have acted upon during the course of your life. Allowing Black forgiveness enables the culpable person in the practice of self-deception. Allowing Black forgiveness removes the opportunity for that individual to grow and change. Allowing Black forgiveness disallows the person to have an opportunity to have a relationship with their truth. All right? Remember that we learned Black forgiveness through religious teaching before our enslaved ancestors learned how to read. I said that Black forgiveness was taught to the enslaved ancestors so that the oppressor can better manage them. As a result, today I even hear conversations about reparations. Could we ever get reparations? Should we? I can't imagine how it's going to happen. That's because we've lived so long without accountability. All right? So we learned this because we were taught this at a time when our ancestors could not read themselves. However, as I talk to you about being accountable and allowing the forgiveness to flow out of accountability, I want to show you where in the Bible, because you learned this from the Bible, where the template says that accountability yields forgiveness. The true outflow for this comes from the result of processing through accountability and apology. All right? So I want to take you back to Job, the template for this creation of forgiveness. We're talking about forgiving subsequent to accountability, forgiving subsequent to the apology. So we know the story of Job, right? And so you heard about Job. He was a very wealthy man. Job had created this whole ranch. He had acres and acres of land. He was living at the top of his life. He had realized all of his plans. Job was a wealthy man for his time. He did business in livestock. This man had 500 donkeys. For that time, that was a lot. He had 500 oxen. Job was a shepherd over 3,000 sheep. Actually, he had 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels. Job had three daughters, 7 sons, and a whole lot of servants to run his camp. Okay, so he's celebrating and he's moving along and he's got so many great things happening to him. And so Job is, one particular day, his sons were having a party and they were just rejoicing and having a great time. And what happened was Job came into a devastating experience. All right. All in one day, Job experienced devastation. What happened to Job on this particular day? He lost everything. He lost the 3,000 camels, the 7,000 sheep, the 500 oxen, the 500 donkeys. He lost his 3 daughters. He lost his 7 sons. He lost all of his servants. Okay? So, right now, what I'm asking you to do is feel Job's loss. Imagine losing a child. He lost 10. Imagine losing everything you worked for, your home, your job, the cars you own. See if you can travel to the feeling that Job is having right now. Take some time and go there. So now Job is at a place where he can't understand what is happening to him. I want you to feel what he's feeling. Okay? I'm going to be very transparent with you as I bring my notes up to par here. Excuse me. So now Job is mourning. He goes into mourning. But I want you to come with me and a little bit deeper into the story. Job had 3 friends that heard about his devastation way over in the town where they lived. When they heard about Job's devastation, they came together and they agreed, let's travel to where Job lives and sit with our friend. We're his good friends and we support him. So the 3 of them traveled to Job's ranch. So now when they get there from afar, they look in the distance and they see Job. Okay, imagine Job lost everything. As you're thinking of him in this desert, Job is dehydrated. Job's eyes are sunken from crying. Job has sores all over his body. That's the description in the book of Job. He has sores covering his body. So his friends, what they do is they tighten up a little bit and they say, let's go on in there and let's support our friend Job. So they get down there to Job now, and they, in their tradition, they sit with Job for 7 days. No one says anything. Quietly they sit, not speaking, observing their sadness, probably having feelings of reverence towards the loss. For 7 days they say nothing. On the 8th day, Job begins to speak. On the 8th day, Job begins to wail. He begins to flail his hands. Job starts to cry. He gets really sad. Job starts complaining about what's going on. Job cannot understand what is going on. Why did this thing happen to me? I serve you, God. I am not supposed to have these experiences. Job starts off. He starts by saying he cursed the day he was born. He said, why cover this day with darkness? Remove the day from the calendar. He cursed the day he was born. He didn't want this to happen. He said, remove the day from the calendar. Tamika Palmer, Breonna Taylor's mother, could she have said the same thing? Job said, curse this day. He said, may the people who curse days curse this day. Can Wanda Cooper Jones, Ahmaud Arbery's mother, have the same cry? Why was I born to see this day, he said. Why wasn't I like a stillborn buried in the dirt? Why did the womb open for me to see this day? A statement that any of us can ask. Any one of us could have asked that statement subsequent to witnessing the killing of Mr. George Floyd. Why didn't I die at birth? Job said, after such a great loss. He said, I have no peace. I have no rest. I have turmoil. I have no quietness. I have no peace. I have no rest. All I have is turmoil. Jacob Blake, Rayshard Brooks, a Tatiana Jefferson, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, Elijah McClain, Botham Jean, Antoine Rose, Philando Castile, Alton Sterling, Freddie Gray. All I have is turmoil. I have no peace. I have no quietness. Natasha McKenna, Tanisha Anderson, Ezell Ford, Michael Brown Jr., Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, Sean Bell, Kendra Dreams, Amadou Diallo. I have no rest. I have no peace. I have no quietness. Only turmoil. Black forgiveness. Unmerited favor without accountability. After Job grieved, his friends began to speak. Now, these are his friends, and they can't understand why this is happening to such a stalwart man as Job. One of their claim to fame was, I know Job personally. Everyone knows Job, but when you're in Job's inner circle, you're as famous as Job. So his friends began to speak, and they started to question Job's integrity. They started to question the integrity of the relationship that Job said he had with God. They said to Job, now listen to me, how did this thing happen to you? And why did this happen to you? Can a man harvest something he does not reap? Did you do something in secret that caused such a calamity to occur on your life? Think about yourself, Job. Think about who you are. You're a man who helps those who are struggling. People come to you for advice. People come to you for growth-oriented conversations. You feed the people. You feed the homeless, the people that are feeble. You help those that are struggling. People look up to you, Job. You walk them through situations like this. And you mean to tell me this happens to you? And you're jumping around the desert like it shouldn't? You talk about strength and how to be an overcomer, and you are flailing your hands in the air, asking God, why is this thing happening to me? Well, Job, think about it. Now, also, they said to Job, well, think about this God that you tell us so much about. Why would somebody love you so much and cause such a devastation upon your life? Is he really as merciful as you say that he is? So these friends continued to provoke Job. They ridiculed him. And so Job now, he's getting kind of upset because of what's happening to him, right? So he does what's normal. He refutes his friends, he rejects them, and now Job pretty much is as angry as you think someone can be because of that. So I want to give it some credit here. One of Job's friends was able to tell the other guys, let's get our wits about us now. And this relationship with God should be revered. And God did come back and he talked to Job too about all these questions Job had for him. He said, well, where were you when I was creating the earth? So he had to, he helped Job center a little bit more. So once his friends have sufficiently ridiculed him and provoked him, before they were getting ready to leave this scenario. So what I'm doing now, I'm coming back, I'm telling you the source of the true template on how to forgive, because you learned to forgive without accountability. Okay, taking you back to the Bible where you learned unmerited forgiveness. So I'm helping you to identify where the mistake was made. Okay, and so now Job's three friends are about to leave. So, of course, before they leave, they tuck their tails between their legs and they walk towards God. And they say, we would like for you to forgive us for the things we said about Job, provoking him at this very sensitive time of his life. So God looks at the three friends and he says to them, before I deal with your folly, here comes the template, go back to Job, apologize to Job, give him a gift, and have Job pray over you. I have a slide. It's the apology precedes forgiveness slide that I'd like to add at this time. Look at this slide. This is the template for forgiveness. The reason God created this template is because at the end of your apologizing, your accountability, and at the end of your forgiveness, the goal is to have a reconciled relationship, a reconciled community. All right. I want to add here also that the forgiveness that we want to so freely give, that preachers preach from the pulpit, that you learn in your classrooms, the forgiveness that makes you give forgiveness right away when 9 people are shot in a church, let's forgive them. Students in Florida are shot and killed in a high school, let's forgive them. Why do we forgive them? We forgive them because, once again, the reason why is because you want to avoid the feelings of pain, the feelings of sadness, the feelings of that emotional imbalance that you will experience. I've scrolled through the social media, and as you scroll through social media, you see people are saying, learn to forgive. They're telling people to just let it go. They applaud people who are strong and they've made it through sexual molestation. They've made it through thievery, unjustifiable and unfair acts. And they're applauding those people. I've scrolled through the social media last week maybe, and you can put that slide back up. And what I read were certain statements, all right, that holding on to your anger only hurts you. I saw a white American woman smiling, and she spoke eloquently about releasing your anger and to forgive. She used loving words of advice and about forgiveness. The last statement she made went like this: forgive because the best revenge is happiness. I saw another post. It says, forgive because holding on to your anger only hurts you. Okay, so what I'm learning here is that we are forgiving for selfish reasons, not for reunification. I want you to just look at this. This is the process of forgiveness. You're asking, okay, well, if I just don't give forgiveness, what do I do? Because now this is challenging what you have learned. You say things, we learn to say things like, forgive, but don't forget. Here's another statement: I'll forgive you, but I won't ever be with you, hang around with you, or give you any attention going forward. This, you are not my friend. Remember, the template leads to reconciliation. Now, the accountability is, it goes like this. Uh, when you begin to apologize, the way you speak is very, very different than when you say you are sorry. Okay? When you begin to, when Job's friends went to him and gave him the gift, what they did was they accepted the responsibility for the action that they did. They admitted the error. The change agent, the change word, the change statements will be in your, the culpable person, your statements of vulnerability. When you make statements such as, I know that I have hurt you. I know that I took away the love of your life. I know that I am the cause of your impoverished life. I know that I am the one that betrayed you. You see, when you start speaking in those terms, then the words reaches the victim, and it evokes feelings from that individual. This is where trust begins again. Trust is a result of mutual disclosure and vulnerable experiences. That's where trust is built, subsequent to mutual disclosure of vulnerability. So now, as you are talking to the person that you harmed, I stole the inheritance from you. I betrayed you. I led you on to thinking a different way. Now we have lost our relationship. Our relationship is important. That's the apology. As you move through this, you're moving through, after you apologize, after you're accountable, we take responsibility for the action. Then you express your regret with vulnerable statements. When you express your regret, imagine yourself in the person's position. Now, as you go over there to their position, imagine how they felt subsequent to your action. I sexually molested you for 7 years. I took your voice. I left you with shame, feelings of hopelessness. I lied in front of your family and minimized you. I insulted you. When the culpable individual makes a statement like that, did you understand the theory about now the victim or the harmed person starts to evoke, starts to feel certain feelings that maybe I can trust them. See, this template was created by God to regain trust and to cause reunification with the harmed individuals. You don't walk away and say, I'll never talk to you again. This is the importance of being accountable in a relationship. After that phase, what you do is you develop an action plan. You indicate why it won't happen again. The gift that you bring, whether it's a ring, because it's public information, I think I can say this. My friend Kobe Bryant, when he and his wife reconnected, he gave her a very expensive, favorable ring. The ring indicated that this action that I've caused in this relationship will never happen again. Each time you look at this gift that I give you, it will be a reminder that we have healed. It will be a reminder that I was accountable and that I apologize. I recognize the wrong that I committed, and it will never happen again. Inherent is your gift in your gift is a permanent reminder that it will not happen again. We're talking about accountability yields forgiveness. We're talking about the idea that unmerited favor continues a disconnect. After the accountability phase, after you have apologized and given a gift, and you have created a plan as to why it won't happen again. Well, I won't do this, and I won't do this, and we will do this, and I will do this. You move to the phase of forgiveness. Now, this unmerited forgiveness that we're so ready to give, oh, I forgive you. It doesn't matter. I forgive you. I'll tell you something. It's easy to give it when it is without accountability. Very easy. You give it without accountability because I would question if it does not lend to you some feelings of superiority. I forgave him. Does it give you some a pseudo feeling of humility? I forgave him. Do you feel empowered? I forgave him. Remember, the true reason for you just giving away forgiveness is because you don't want to feel the sadness, the pain, and the emotional imbalance that comes from that loss. Now, you are challenged to forgive. Remember, God told his three friends to go back to Job, give him a gift, converse about what happened, and have Job pray for all of you. This is what challenges Job. Because you know what? You know when your father left you 20 years ago and you've been mad at him ever since, and now he's moved into his 60s because you get up there in your 60s and now you start looking back and sorry about a lot of stuff. What he does now is he comes back to you. He brings you the best gift that he can for you. And he offers you this gift and he tells you, I'm sorry. I apologize. I know that I left you at a very important time in your life. I know that because I left you, you are not able to experience a lot of the benefits that should have been yours if I was in the home. Now, he says this to you. And so we've been hurt and we've been harmed, and we have had license to speak about the, the wrongdoer's actions. We have had license to say that was a terrible person. And others agreed with us that that was a terrible person. That was a thing to do. And so now that you've been saying something negative about the dad or the mom and the unjustifiable action you received all of your life because you had license to do it, has happened is you've developed a neurological pattern in your mind to dislike this individual. So here comes the challenge for Job. He said, and tell Job to pray for all of you. This is where you are challenged. You are now challenged to forgive. To forgive. Because like I said, could it be possible that you forgave because it gave you a sense of pseudo pride and humility? Because you see, when you forgave, that hurt that people tell you that will leave you, I'm telling you, that's not a true statement. The hurt that you feel from the loss of your loved one, the unjustifiable action that was done to you, the hurt resurfaces. It doesn't go away just because I gave you forgiveness. It comes back in the form of uncertainty, maybe guilt. Guilt is like an intellectual type of emotion. Guilt says, I'm doing this, but I should be doing that. I did this, but I should have done that. Guilt is a very helpful emotion because it saves us from cognitive dissonance. And so what happens is your mind says, please make a decision because you cannot live in two minds. So the guilt comes back from, I forgave them. Did I do the right thing? And this is when you usually come into the office because you've heard your whole church, your whole village tell you, let it go. Let it go because you've only hurt yourself. Remember the The quote that I read to you, the woman said, let it go because the best revenge is happiness. The last three words after those wonderful words of forgiveness on how to forgive, the last three words were revenge is happiness. These are self-indulgent and selfish reasons for forgiving. You're back now to on the slide to forgive. Now you are challenged to forgive. So do you see where the emotional work is done? The emotional work is done with the culpable individual admitting the error, feeling what they did to you, and now apologizing. The emotional work is done also with you, the forgiver. All right? Now you are challenged to forgive your father, your father who left you 20 years ago. He's coming back and he's saying, I apologize. So do you forgive? So now you have to go through a process of releasing. You see the emotional growth that goes on here with accountability, with apology that yields forgiveness. This is the kind of thing that your ancestors were not taught. So you have a whole lot of work to do. When the person requests forgiveness, you are challenged to accept the apology, move forward, acknowledge the action plan, and continue in your relationship moving towards forgiveness. I'll say just the last few words that what we've done here is that we have replaced uh, replaced forgiveness with a another word that is very passive and it's very vague. The reason why we forgive is because it was sin. Do you know that he left because of sin? Forgive him because you were molested because of sin. You know that we got to let that go and let's not even address it. This is happening because of sin. So now the responsible place is even more vague and holds less responsibility because you can't touch it. This happened because of sin. I said that I was going to challenge you into a place of emotional correction. Where are your feelings? This discussion was about you changing the way you learned to forgive to now adopt a brand new way of forgiving. You should feel uncertainty, maybe even some devalue, because you felt empowered when you forgave without accountability. You're not making up your mind now. This is about you experiencing your crisis of belief in the emotionally corrective experiences as you go forward, changing the way you perform in your village, changing some of the governing rules in your family, in your village, changing the way you church. When you make a change, it's one person at a time. When you begin to make a change, you're telling yourself the truth. Yourself the truth. So, this is an idea that can send glue and connection in your village. You guys, the world is changing around you. You are on the verge of a change. Many issues will approach your desk that you have to make decisions about. Begin strengthening your village by strengthening yourself, by assessing where you are as you make changes. You'll go through a crisis of your belief. It's very, very normal. You'll go through an emotionally corrective experience. It's absolutely normal. As you continue to transition and move, do not stay in uncertainty. Move to a place of decisiveness. That is where wellness lives. Reevaluate where you will place Black forgiveness in your community going forward. Thank you, Dr. Sidney.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this presentation. As you were talking, I was just thinking so much about many in our generation. Um, we've had different types of hurt, and one of the most prominent has been church hurt. And thinking about this process, how could this process help with the process of growth and development of people and becoming whole? How could this be applied to something like that?
Well, like as I stated, the process begins with you telling yourself the truth. As you become whole and strengthened as a village, the accountability that yields forgiveness, individuals learn it. The same way the enslaved ancestors learned that information, it became a governing rule for their survival.
Yeah.
And so they would forgive without merit. Here is forgiveness. She's been raped. Here is forgiveness. Same thing. What you do is decide whether or not this would be a banner thought. And one person at a time begin the conversation. One person at a time continues to do the do it in that way. Someone is sexually molested. What happens often is the group that surrounds them covers for them,
Mm.
and they never get the opportunity to be accountable. My question is, why would you take away someone's opportunity to grow and change? Being accountable gives a person an opportunity to grow from where they are to the best person that they can be. And by giving forgiveness without merit, you disallow this individual to grow through the phases of growth that will help them change their interactions. I know that you look at Jesus on the cross, and what you say is that Jesus said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." Well,
Mm-hmm.
look at the criteria in that. First of all, Jesus was on the cross. All right.
Mm-hmm.
He said to the Father, he looked up at the Father. He didn't forgive him. He said, "Father, forgive them."
She went out for a second there, but what she shared has been so powerful for us. Um, so what we'll do as we work out that technical difficulty, I just want to let everyone know that as soon as this program is over in 6 minutes, we're going to jump on Clubhouse, where we're going to extend the conversation, where we weren't able to do as much question and answer here, but on that app we'll be able to engage in further um, discussion about what the corrective emotional experience is and how it can be applied to our lives. Another thing that is coming up very soon is that on April 24th at 1 p.m., that's going to be our next Saturday Soul. We're going to have Mr. Kenneth Anderson, who is a business owner and community transformer, as we like to say. He's going to be on Saturday Soul with us, helping us to think about business and Black business. And the theme for that time will be minding your business. I think we have Miss Theodore back, so let's bring her back on. so she can complete her thought
Okay,
there.
okay, okay. Yeah,
Yes.
Jesus said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." But you know what you do because you claim to be a Christian with a mind that has the same mind as Christ. These minds that He asked to forgive were debaucherous minds. Your mind is not like that. So, what happens here is that you are accountable and you apologize. All right. I just want to share one last thing before we go into the clubhouse. Saying sorry and apologizing leads down two different words. You see, when a person says, "I'm sorry," the sorry sentiment is founded in selfishness or self indulgence. This means that the culpable spirit needs additional satisfaction. The culpable spirit says, "When I committed the wrong action, I satisfied my greed, my anger, and my defiance. Now, the culpable spirit says, I would like to continue feeding my satisfaction by feeling sorry that I must face consequences. I am sorry for what I did. I should not have done that because now I don't like how I feel." Feeling the sorry feeling is about the evildoer, the person who did the wrong act, the perpetrator, not about you, the wronged person. On the other hand, the thought process of the apology takes another direction. It requires deeper thought and connection with the wrong act and as well as with the person that has been wronged. The apology takes the culpable person away from their self indulgent thoughts and directs him or her into their opportunity for growth and expansion. So even saying "I am sorry," now again, get real deep and technical here because everyone says "I'm sorry." Even saying "I'm sorry" is a self indulgent act. When you say
Uh,
"I apologize to you," now this whole thing that we're talking about is about you. It's not about me and my sorrow, it's my accountability towards you.
well, we want to thank you so much for your presentation. And we know that there's probably some individuals that will want to get in contact with you. One of the ways in which they can do that is going to jazztherapyheals.com, and you'll be able to reach out to her to gain any further clarity and information about what she's sharing today. Also, remember that in a few moments, as soon as we get of uh, off of this broadcast, we're going to jump on Clubhouse to unpack this a little more. Jazz, we want to thank you so much for your presentation. It was powerful and so relevant for the times that we're in. Before we go, is there maybe one or two resources that may be helpful for those who want to go along this journey that may be able to help them?
Okay, you know what? I was thinking about that, and being in the feeling field, I want you to look at some movies. Okay, you can look up information about corrective emotional in experiences. They're written as in scholarly papers. All right, but there are certain movies that maybe you can look at because what's good is that you will start to feel a certain way. And some of these movies will challenge the way you feel. Many people don't want to read about the enslaved. They won't want to watch movies about the ancestors. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lack,
Okay.
Rosewood,
Mhm.
Black Wall Street. Challenge yourself to feel. Challenge yourself to feel as you go forward, making decisions about how your village will unify.
Well, again, thank you so much, Jazz, for your wisdom and insight that you shared. We want to thank Kirk Nugent and Composition for assisting us with our audio visual needs. And we also want to give those who have watched the broadcast an opportunity to donate to our platform. We are now a 501c3 deductible. Your gifts will be tax deductible. There are several ways that you can give to this platform. You see them on the screen. You can also get the t-shirt like I'm wearing, and pre-order that on our theliberationmovement.com website. So please do so. Thank you again, and we look forward to engaging with you on Clubhouse in a few moments. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.